Okay, sure. Why not? Yeah, what the hell? Let's record this video. I think I think it says that we're recording. So many weird things going on. I never know anymore what the hell's happening, but yeah, we're going to look at the astrology cuz August is not far, believe it or not. And there's another full moon like there is every month. There's always a full moon, there's always a new moon. And we look at those lunar cycles because, well, they matter. The moon makes its movements, things happen, and even the ocean's tides change with the moon's movements. How can we deny? How can we pretend that the moon doesn't matter in our life? Holy crap, right? We can't. Well, we can stick our head in the sand and be like, ah, la, 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 right? Put our fingers in our ears and be like, I'm not here. I'm not paying attention to this. It doesn't apply to me. We can do that. And yeah, I'm sure we all do it with some things in our lives. But this full moon coming up in August is interesting. And I'm going to show you a quick look at it really somewhere here. Yeah, like today, now. Can we show the chart real quick? Yeah, there she is. Moon, feminine energy. Feminine energy. The moon, lunar cycles, right? It's a full moon. What makes a full moon is when the moon is at the opposite end of the sun. So by looking at this chart, if I see that the moon is at 9 degrees, by the way, that is the full moon energy, 9 degrees. To be exact, it is 9 degrees and 15 minutes in the sign of Aquarius. Yep, that's Aquarius. That's the symbol. So at the opposite end of this moon then would be the sun at 9 degrees and 15 minutes, just exactly matching, but the opposite sign. So Leo, 9 degrees, 15 minutes. That's where the sun is focused. And this will be August 1st. This makes August an interesting month. Will we have 2 full moons? Will we have 2 new moons? See how it's happening? The full moons are getting closer and closer, coming earlier and earlier. So before we go any further into the chart, that was just so that you could see the visual, right? I know I didn't show you the Leo energy and I didn't show you the sun in Leo, but how do we know what the full moon is about? All full moons have some basic meanings that are always going to stay the same. The only thing that's going to change is the sign that they are in and the degree. But the full moon, in essence, means a closure and an ending of a cycle because it is an ending of a lunar cycle. Every 2 weeks, that cycle changes, right? Full moons represent the release and the let go and, okay, done with this, a completion. This is over. This is finished, right? The moon is also tied to our emotions, which is why so many things happen on full moons. It's not a coincidence, like it's a thing. You talk to anybody who works, whether they're public servants, EMTs, police officers, officers of the law, like people who work with the public, even if you are somebody who just works serving the public by, oh, I don't know, you serve coffee, right? You work with the public in some way. You look at each other, you look at the coworker and you're like, must be a full moon, right? You can feel it. You see it by the people that approach and that walk up. The public. Do you know that the moon, literally the symbol, the moon, other than feelings and feminine energy, another key word for the moon is the public, the emotions of the public. This is why it is so obvious when there's a full moon. That's one of the reasons. So obvious when that moon is up in the sky. And you know what happens, not just, right? It starts to get big and full looking even before the day of the full moon, technically. Most people think like the day before, the 2 days before. They're like, did you see the full moon? Did you see the full moon? Right? Because it looks really full for like 3 or 4 days, even sometimes, depending upon your sky and yeah, how all that looks for you. But sometimes you could look at it and be like, damn, look at that full moon. It's so big and bright. And depending upon how close it is to the earth, it seems to be more noticeable at times. And so the closer that moon is to the earth, the I would say the higher or the easier we are swayed, or we feel more of its impressions. How about that? And it's emotional. And so what sort of things are we going to feel? What sort of impressions? Well, other than being emotional, the moon and also being the public, it also is about family, feminine energy, right? So a woman's ability to have a child is involved with the moon, because it's the woman's body, literally, and her ability to go through the cycles, It's called moon time. A woman's cycles is another term, is her moon time. Yeah. So that ability to have those cycles is really keyed in to whether a woman in her body can have the ability to be impregnated and then to carry a baby to term, right? Now there's a whole lot of other stuff involved, and we're not going to get into that because this isn't about that. It's to show you the connections to the moon and feminine energy and the powers of that moon, and how amazing and yeah, beautiful it actually is, because it's like, wow, it's the oceans, like, wow, the ability to to have a little being in your body, like, it's just it's it seems otherworldly in a way, but it's more than that. It goes bigger. It's not just about that, because when we think of a little baby growing inside the body, we also connect to that being in its temporary home, right? One day that baby will be born, and then it will one day have to create and get a home of its own, the sticks and the bricks. Literally, the home that you live in, that your body is housed in, where you live, where you sleep and eat, where you raise a family. Cancer energy. I'm sorry, moon, Cancer energy. Same thing. The moon rules the sign of Cancer, family. Maybe my childhood. But what was my childhood like, or not like? Even ancestry. The moon represents a long time ago. So sometimes we refer to it as the soul energy. Stuff from the deep, from the past can come through. And we feel it. Sometimes, depending upon where the moon is in the sky, don't you find yourself thinking about shit from the past at certain times? And you're like, why am I thinking about this? Go look up the moon and go see what sign it's in, right? And if you want to know even more, look at it in your chart. And by the way, if you don't have your chart and you want your chart, comment below and I'll take care of you. All right. Now, getting back to the full moon, we can dig out more meaning and more understanding by seeing the sign that it's in. So we saw that it's in the sign of Aquarius. When we know what Aquarius means, we can know a little bit more about this full moon. So one of the first keywords for Aquarius energy is friends, my social circle. That's Aquarius energy. It's group energy. So when you have the moon mixed in with that, it makes it very, very interesting, because the moon, in a way, I just described multiple ways that it's kind of like group energy, because it can be family. And if you grew up in a family, even if you don't know your family, some people like, oh, I was adopted. I don't really know who my tribe really is, who my family, who my blood family really is. But possibly you have this extended family by a marriage, even, right? Maybe whether it was through adoption or in combination with adoption, and then you had this whole other family, or maybe parents got divorced. It doesn't matter. All of it is like the unit of how you were raised. What surrounded you? What people? What home? What was that environment like? Childhood, sign of Cancer. moon energy. I keep saying the sign of Cancer. We're in Cancer energy as I'm recording this video, and it's coming through so strongly, the Cancer energy. Lots of thoughts about the past, and a past that I don't think I'm not cognizant of, but yet I keep getting drawn back to it over and over and over. And this is, anyway, it's another video. It was for a private lives conversation, but I'm sure some of you can relate to that, right? Other lifetimes or memory of some sort that you're pulling in and you're like, oh my God, where does this shit come from anyway, right? History, the past, the memory of the soul, even possibly. The moon, the moon. So in Aquarius, when we think about group energy and we think about that family unit and we think about the tribe, the moon is our tribe because it can represent, where you come from. Where do your people come from? Your heritage. But that's not all. What about the people you meet in your life that you're not related to in any way, but yet they feel like family? Feel, another moon word, feelings and emotions. Empathic energy, empathy, that's the moon. So in Aquarius, it's interesting because the moon is really watery and can be highly emotional and can be all about the past. But Aquarius, group energy and friends, so some of that can blend, right? Because we have friends who feel like family. And we have family members that we actually would call friends. And some of us don't have that, right? But it's interesting. It's interesting to pick out the similarities and the things that are not similar. And so I'm going to show you some of those. Aquarius energy is more about the future. It is more about what has not been created yet. It is more about information coming through, like downloads of information. And it's like the universe and the entire universe bringing in information and downloads. It's almost, think about the people who were the inventors. Think about all the different inventions that we have, like how I'm doing this video right now, right? The web, the World Wide Web, the internet. Like, there was a time this didn't exist, and I could have never have been here sharing in this way without it. And so someone invented that. That's Aquarius energy. That's Aquarius energy. Aquarius's ruler is Uranus. So sometimes you might hear the planets slip in, and that's fine. Same keywords, okay? So it's fascinating how Aquarius, and we think of groups and we think of friends when we're referring to groups, whereas the moon, we think of groups in our family unit, in our tribe, but it's not about friends, it's about family, right? And then Aquarius being more about the future, but yet the moon being about the past. So what the hell does it mean if you're going to have a full moon in Aquarius, and that full moon being about a release and something ending and something being over? Aquarius is so much about technology. It's about science and medicine and space. I was just commenting under one of the videos. A video had just went up, and I wanted to reply to a comment real quick before I started recording, because I got to record at really weird times sometimes. And so I happened to see, I don't know what channel it was, right? I'm on YouTube. So whatever it was, it caught my eye, and it was like what I would consider a credible news source. And so I clicked on it because the headline, the thumbnail, whatever the hell, caught my attention. It talked about Harvard scientists, a Harvard professor who believes that he was on his research ship in the water, and they got information from the government. Maybe government's the wrong word. Maybe it was NASA. I'd have to watch it again to remember. But they got information that there was some sort of debris that came from a comet or something, and they had plotted out a spot in the ocean where they believe it fell. And so they were kind of like dredging that area and using special equipment to try to, like magnets and shit. Anyhow, the equipment that they pulled up, or I shouldn't say equipment, the equipment that they used that pulled up some of the bits and pieces that they pulled up were spherical, like perfect little spheres in shape. It was crazy. And there were like 40 or 50 of them so far that they had accumulated. And they were so tiny that for them to actually see the shape of them, they had to look under a microscope to literally see these amazing little shapes. And the content of them is mostly iron. And so I don't know if it was NASA, anyway, whoever gave them the information or was sharing this information in the coordinates was saying that from the samples they collected and from their own work at Harvard, they said that the material, there is a 99.99999% chance that it is from it is a some sort of material from likely another galaxy. That's probably not the right word. Another universe, I think was what they said. I only watched it real quick once and I was multitasking, so I might even have some of my information wrong. But Aquarius energy makes me think of this because without that technology, without the microscope, without telescopes, without special equipment that we can use to drag along the bottom of the ocean to collect debris from a comet or an asteroid or whatever. I think it was an asteroid, not a comet. Did I say comet the first time? That was stupid of me. An asteroid that crashed and there was debris, and collecting bits and pieces of it, and majority of those bits and pieces being mostly iron. And so being mostly iron, this thing was stronger than anything that they know of or that we know of here on Earth, because it was mostly iron. I'm not sure what the other percentage of it was made of, and I don't know if they do either. But either way, it was leading them to believe, because of the shape of these little pieces, it seemed highly unlikely that these little pieces were in these almost perfect spherical shapes without an intent behind them. So it was kind of exciting because it was like, who created this? Where's this from? Right? So it makes me think of Aquarius energy. And so I wanted to use that example because it just happened to glance and catch my eye right before I did this video about the full moon in Aquarius. And so the moon being an ending and a closure and feelings and emotions, but yet Aquarius energy isn't about emotions. This is another way Aquarius energy is very different from moon energy. Aquarius says it's science, so we need to collect the data. We need to run experiments. We don't believe in it because we feel this way. We have to run the experiments. We have to see the data. It's data driven. It's data proven. Science and experiments, the first rule says that there is always something that breaks the exceptions. Like there's always an exception to all of our scientific rules, right? And so there's always this open-mindedness for something to come along through the process of testing and experimenting that may break beyond the borders of our understanding and of our previous knowledge. And that was one of the things about science that I loved, that it understood it didn't have all the answers. And it respected that by creating that first rule. So Aquarius energy being inventions and technology, but Aquarius is also, when we think of more of in a global manner, it's the global systems of our world. Think of the global systems. What are those? Like we know in the pandemic, mass transportation, but shipping and all that craziness where we couldn't get supplies, and all of a sudden our world became really tiny, and it was like, oh, there's a global system. Right? And we likely aren't aware of it unless we work within that global system. But it's also other systems, global monetary systems. Like there's a ton of global systems that I likely don't even know about. And if you guys do, please put them in the comments. But the full moon energy promises something is ending and something is closing. There's an end to something, right? And so maybe it's something as simple like, oh, this observatory, this particular, sometimes those like the telescopes up there in the sky, and sometimes those things just become obsolete, like the technology is no longer of use anymore. And so we close those, like spaceships, even space, certain rockets that they used to use, they kind of close those out. So it could be something simple like that, right? It could be. But for you, you're looking for the degree in your chart. You're looking for that degree. You're looking to see, what do you have at 9 degrees of Aquarius? What do you have at 9 degrees in Leo? You might not have anything, but a full moon in Aquarius is interesting because it is not about emotions. It is about the data. It is more about it's about the intellect. It's about, I can't make decisions and choices based on how I feel. It's got to be about, I need the proof. I need to be able to, scientists are, I got to see it to believe it, right? That's the whole thing with scientists. It's not so much about faith many times, right? And so it can be something huge, and it can be something small, because for you in your life, finding out if you have something at the 9 degrees, so 2 degrees before, so we would say 7, 8, 9, and then 2 degrees after. So that would go to 10 and 11 degrees. Okay, so that's between 7 to 11 degrees of Aquarius energy. The moon, the full moon, we have those every month. Something is ending and something is closing. Something likely on a big scale, because it's the moon, it's the public, but it's also Aquarius, which is these global systems, these things that happen around the world, global financing, and however else our world is connected. The space, right? Think of our space projects, right? International Space Station. That's a global thing. Absolutely. What are some other examples? What are some other things? Find out. Let me give you an example of the house that this is in this chart real quick. The moon, 9 degrees in Aquarius, 8th house. Let's pretend this is your chart, whoever you are. Somebody has this in their chart, right? Aquarius is friends and social circles. So if there's a full moon here, there can be, maybe we're not friends anymore, because maybe there were friends that I was intimately close to because we had shared wounds, or there was something about our past that was similar energetically, but possibly physical intimacy, 8th house, emotional intimacy, and physical intimacy, 8th house energy. Okay. And so if I had friends who are different, that's Aquarius energy, my uniqueness, my originality, my authenticity is Aquarius energy. Aquarius energy is the rebel. Rebel, that's Aquarius energy. My rebelliousness, something about that. Maybe something about somebody who was older in your life, possibly. Remember, feminine energy with the moon, but masculine energy with Aquarius. A combination here. The moon is sensitive. Aquarius is not. Aquarius is not sensitive. Now, if this was in somebody's 8th house, these can be things that are brought up from the past that could have been shocking, because that's Aquarius energy. It can be shocking, can be surprising even, but a release of some sort, an ending of some sort. At the other end is that Leo energy. So when we go over there and we look at the Leo energy, see it? Right there, same degree. The full moon lights up this side of the house as well, because it's the sun and the moon in an opposition. So for this person, if this was someone's chart, that's the sun in their 2nd house of my values, connected to Leo energy, romance, mating, dating, relating, how I take a risk with my body. Leo's a very, very in tune with sports, being very physical. But, sports in a way, and being physical in a way where we're performing. That's why I say sports, because we're performing with our body. But it can also be like, the horizontal and the vertical stuff. So Leo energy and the highlights of something ending, and possibly friendships for some of us. It's a possibility. because it's the full moon in the sign of Aquarius. And as we get closer to this event, because this event is 3 weeks away, right? August 1st. As we get closer to this event, we'll talk a little bit more about the other things in the chart. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about where some of the other planets are, and that will give us a more well-rounded picture of what to expect. But for right now, there is a full moon in Aquarius on the 1st of August, and it's at 9 degrees in the Aquarian energy. So where does that happen in your chart? And do you have something at 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11 degrees? What house is it in? If you don't know, comment below. I'll help you out in any way I can. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.